There's a guy doing time in Washington right now. His name is Shane Goldsby. I heard about his case a little over a week ago, and I haven't slept soundly since. You see, he's doing time for the murder of an elderly gentleman named Robert Munger. They were cellies at the Airway Heights Correctional Facility there in Washington. Munger had told Shane what he was in for. He was doing time for rape. More specifically, he was doing time for the rape of a 10-year-old girl, Shane's younger sister. Shane hadn't known that this had happened. He fled the cell whenever he found out. He told the cops he couldn't live with this guy. He asked his friends if they had any advice, and of course the only advice they had for him was go in there and beat that guy to death. Shane tried to find a way to maintain, but later that day, whenever Robert came out into the day room, Shane rushed him. He kicked him in the head 4 times after knocking him down, and Robert Munger died in a hospital 3 days later. Shane received 24 years for this crime. He was sentenced just a little over a week ago. The murder happened a little over a year ago. And there are just so many details about this case that makes it even worse than it sounds at first glance. Shane was doing time predominantly for evading arrest on unrelated charges. He stole a cop car, went on a high-speed chase, actually got away. He embarrassed the cops. He did an interview with a reporter from KHQ where he was pretty proud of this, that he'd embarrassed the cops publicly. He went on to explain that while he was in prison for this evasion, he'd kept embarrassing the cops, that he liked to fight and win, that he liked to find ways to be a thorn in the administration's side. But that he got his stuff together and that he'd been trying to reform himself whenever this happened, whenever they stuck him in a cell with the guy who had raped his 10-year-old sister. I don't know how anybody can think this is a coincidence. I did time. Anybody who did time will tell you the most likely scenario is that Munger was murdered. But it wasn't by Shane Goldsby, it was by a correctional officer or a counselor. He saw the situation and he said to himself, well, geez, 2 birds with 1 stone. All I got to do is fill out some paperwork, put him in the same cell. I'm going to kill a pedophile, and I'm going to take that kid that keeps embarrassing us and put him in his place. Most likely that's what happened. I can't know, but my best guess is that Robert Munger was murdered. An officer pointed Shane at him like a gun. Regardless, 24 years is a hefty sentence for an institutional murder. Generally speaking, the court doesn't care if inmates kill each other. You'll pick up some time, but it's more like 5, 10 years. Shane made the mistake of doing it in front of people, in front of cameras. But that's because this wasn't premeditated. He would have just went into the cell and killed him if it was a plan. The court found no mitigation in this case, and it's driving me crazy. I wrote him as soon as I heard about it. I haven't heard back yet, but I'm hopeful that I will soon so I can ask him how I can help him. I did correspond with his mother briefly. Unfortunately, I haven't heard from her in a couple of days. She asked me to hold off on speaking publicly about Shane's case for a little while, but I don't in good conscience feel that I can anymore. Why aren't more people outraged about this? Another prison channel, Jay Williams, he did a video about it. There was a conservative commentator who did a video about it, and there are a number of news stations that have run articles that are just reprintings of the original KHQ article. It looks like interest has died down. This was all a week ago. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know that I'm not just going to let this go. I'm going to keep writing Shane. I'm going to keep talking about this. This isn't right. Something should be done. I'm going to be doing a live stream in just a couple of minutes, and if anybody wants to weigh in on anything they think I should be doing, please give me some advice. I don't know what to do here. I hope to see you there. Thanks for listening.